Hello, my name is Pablo, and I'm a channeling master. I'm a teacher. I teach people how to channel, and this is the story of how I got there. It's a long story, but if you bear with me a little bit, it's very interesting how everything happens. First of all, when I was a young kid, I usually had these premonitory dreams, and strange things happened in my room the whole time. I was very afraid of the dark the whole time because every night there was something moving there. So then I started getting these premonitory dreams, dreaming of what was going to happen the next day. In school, in some conversations with some friends, maybe even some tests sometimes, which gave me a little bit of an advantage sometimes too. Uh, and then something happened that was really strange. I dreamt with someone, with a girl, when I was 14, who was not there in the school. But then a couple of months later, she actually came to school. So that kind of blew my mind because I was really deeply in love with her at the moment. So I needed to tell someone what was going on. So I went to talk to my grandfather, and we usually watch the X Files together. So it made a lot of sense to me to talk to him about this. And he said, "Oh, that's normal. It happens, people have premonitory dreams." But then he started searching for some books on his closet, and he took out these metaphysics books from Connie Mendes. Connie Mendes is a Venezuelan that was an alumni of Emmett Fox from the Great White Brotherhood in the U.S. So I was 15 and I was starting to read about metaphysics, study metaphysics with him, study numerology and a whole other bunch of things of how to create the world, of how co-create, of how to make intentions and all that. And being pretty young, that wasn't something that was really normal at that moment. But it was pretty easy for me to get in touch with that. Then when I was 21 years old, I had just turned 21. I had a dream about the Twin Towers falling down a couple of days before it actually happened. So when I saw the attacks of September 11th on the Twin Towers, something happened inside me that I felt this very deep sense that something needed to be done and that I had to do something. So I started questioning myself around why I was studying journalism, because at the moment I was studying journalism. And the only thing that I could find to let this longing for something bigger come out was a meditation class that I found. And this was a meditation class that was one of those usual things where you meditate, but it was more of a meditation class where we also got there to send light to the dark places of the world at the moment. So I started going there every Wednesday night regularly. And I'm pretty disciplined when I want something. So I was really obsessed about it. And then few months after that, during the meditation, something started happening to me. And what happened was that my arms started moving by themselves, just like this, like moving around, making circles and gestures, and it was really strange for me that was going on. So I talked with the meditation teacher. His name was Sergio, and he would tell me, "Oh, that's fine. That's normal. Some people do that. So just keep doing that." And I said, "Okay, well, if it's normal, that's fine." So every meditation, I will start moving my arms. Well, not me. Something moved my arms. I didn't know what was going on, and it just happened that way. So I let it be. Then a few more months passed, and I was on the library of the university studying, and I started sensing, feeling that some information was coming to me in a different way of what I was used to create when I was writing something as a journalist. So it was pretty strange because I started getting ideas about chakras, and I knew something about it, of course, because I had studied metaphysics, but not in the same way or sense that what was coming. So I just put my pen on top of the paper and my hands started moving pretty quickly, almost without me making it move. And I wrote down 5 pages of whole new information about the chakras, source of light, stellar beings and other stuff. I still got the pages around somewhere in my house. I found it a couple of weeks ago when I was moving to this new house. So it was pretty weird. When I stopped, I didn't remember everything that I was writing. I had to read it again afterwards to remember it. So the next meditation class came, and I was there asking Sergio again, this happened to me. I started writing it automatically without knowing what I was writing. It was really weird. And he said, "Oh, you're channeling." And I said, "What's that?" Well, some people get in touch with spirit guides, and that's something normal, and they write books. So maybe you need to write a book. Oh, okay. So I showed them the writings, and they liked it, and they said, "Just let it be. Let them come forward whenever they want to come. It's pretty good information." So he also gave me a couple of books, one from Barbara Marciniak and one from Lee Carroll, Cryon 1. And I really like Cryon 1. And then I read Cryon 2 and 3 pretty quickly afterwards. And really good books. I love them. But none of them explain what was happening to me. And the thing is that this came anywhere, any moment, at any time. Even when I was in the middle of the class, in the bathroom, in the subway, crunched up in the subway with everyone there. So I didn't really have time for every moment that this wanted to come forward for me to just write it down. So I started spacing it out, and I didn't really have time to sit down and write everything. And then I started working. I landed a dream job in motorsports journalism, which was something that I really wanted the whole time. I'm really Formula One fan. I'm a really big fan of race cars. So I landed this dream job coming out of the university with my intention and all the metaphysics I knew from Connie Mendes and Emmett Fox. So for me, this was my dream life pretty quickly. And what happened was that I started forgetting a little bit about this because I had no explanation for it, and it was really hard for me to follow. So I started working, and the working machine just kept going, and I started having some commitments with payments, debts, and all that. So I kind of forgot it, but at the same time was also there the whole time. So it was pretty weird. Until in 2006, I was fired from a job. So when I got fired from that job, I decided I wanted to make something spiritual of myself again. So I decided I will make a trip to Mount Shasta in North California, where a Great White Brotherhood base is supposed to be inside there. So I made it in a date where there was also a Cryon seminar there. And when I get there, I was meeting some Chilean friends at the same time. And one of them is waiting for me outside the door. Her name is Astrid. And Astrid has always been a little bit crazy. And she said, wait. Don't come in. Don't go in. I need to introduce you to someone. So she picks me up. And the show was already starting. So I wanted to come in. But she said, no, wait, this is important. And she pull me up to the other side and bring me in front of a lady, and she says, "This is Pepper Louis, and I think you two need to meet." And she just leaves me there, with this woman. I didn't know who she was actually. I've heard of her, but not that much. So we started talking, and she tells me that she channels Gaia for 15 years. She gives channeling classes and other metaphysics seminars. And it was really interesting, but I wanted to come inside the room. So what I did was I actually said that I was interviewing people as a journalist. So I got a meeting with her later, a few days after that. So there she told me a little bit about her channeling class, what she did, and I felt this deep connection with her pretty quickly. But I didn't really understand and realize where it was going. So I just let it be. I came back to Santiago, and I actually partnered up with the people that were bringing Cryon to South America at that moment. And I was part of the whole group of people organizing. And I was one of the lead organizers of the Cryon seminar, the first Cryon seminar in Santiago in 2007. And then I put a lot of effort in the sound of of the seminar, and Lee Carroll really liked that because he's a sound engineer. So we got together really good, and he started asking for me to go to different places in South America with him. And at the same time, Pepper will go to the same places when the whole Cryon team will go to South America. So I started having a nice relationship with Pepper, and at the same time with Lee Carroll, which was really nice for me. And then a couple of years later, in 2009, I finally decided on a trip to Sedona in Arizona to take the channeling class with Pepper. And I felt it was something I needed, but I was the worst of students going on in there. I came in late. I was droozing and almost sleeping the whole class. I was really the worst student. And one of the things that I saw there was that everyone was channeling. This was just like amazing for me because there was a lot of people that didn't really know how to do it, had never done it before, and then something magical happened in the class that they were actually channeling, and that was just crazy for me. So at the end of the class, Pepper usually will do a channeling for the whole class there, and this is something we do when I teach too. So I already knew, because I had been in some of the Gaia seminars already, that if you ask something, you were on the hook. So as I was being the worst student on that class, I knew I had to stay quiet, because if not, Gaia will come as a big Mother Earth calling for me and with her big sermon. So I stood on the corner of the circle. It's not a circle, it's actually like a C, or a U shaped. So I stood on one of the corners to Pepper's left. I was just like hiding in there so she wouldn't see me and staying very quiet. But suddenly she just turns around and stares at me and says, "And you?" I said, "Me? What? Me? What? Me? You've been hiding the whole class? Hiding? Yeah, you were late. You were sleeping. You were running away the whole time. Why are you here?" So I started stumbling, hesitating the words, and I said something like, I want to learn how to channel, and she says, "Are you sure? It doesn't seem like that." Again stuttering, and she tells me, "Well, you know what? If you don't fix yourself and put everything together now, what will happen is that everything you have been working towards in all your past lives and this one is gonna just dissolve. And this is the end of the life. That's it. So you get your act together or this is it." So she asked me, "Are you wanting to get your life together now?" And I said, reluctantly, "Yes." And she looked at me and said, No. This is something important. Are you going to get your life together? Yes. Final chance, she says. Are you doing it or not? I need a clear answer now. So I kind of straightened up myself and I said, yes, okay, I'm doing it. And she says, well, okay, some things are going to starting to change now, and you better be ready because things are going to get good from now on. Things are going to change. Little did I knew. Everything started to change. The whole partnership of this healing center we had, because I had gone into a partnership for the healing center when I started working with the Cryon team in Santiago and the rest of South America, started going really bad. We weren't selling anything. Finances started going down pretty quickly. And I kept putting money in there, and everything was going down and down and down and worse and worse and worse until we had to close down. And at the same time we closed down with a bunch of debt, my wife also loses her job. So everything became really, really bad at the same time. Now, I was channeling every day because one of the things that the class did for me was that it allowed me to open and to close the connection with my higher self, with my master pretty quickly, pretty easily, whenever I wanted. So I will sit down from 11 p.m. to midnight every day to channel. But when I ask for help, all they will tell me was just be patient. We're going to help you when you need it. So it was like, I need it now. Now will be a good time for me to get some help. So finances went worst. We ate up all our credit cards. We actually used the credit cards to buy food because we didn't have any money. I had to sell the car that I had. And we were quickly in a few months in $30,000 debt on top of everything that was lost from the healing center. So I kept asking, and they will say, "Don't worry, we will help you when you need it." So it's like, okay, now it's a good time too. You can come in and say something. But then what happened was that we put the apartment for sale, the one we had, and people will come in and look at it, but they won't buy it. They weren't offering anything, and I was feeling like I had the dark cloud on top of myself the whole time, because any job that I would try to get just wouldn't work. And I was too committed on this crazy thing that I called. So whenever I met a college mate from the university and he asked me, "What are you doing now?" I would say, "Oh no, I'm doing this crazy stuff." The whole time I will treat it that way. So in part, I was too committed to this crazy stuff to get back into journalism. And even when I tried to work as a waiter, nothing will work. I, I had committed myself to work in a new restaurant that was opening up. And the day we were supposed to open, the partners got into an argument and a fight. And finally, they didn't open. So it was like crazy. That job didn't work either. So everything was really bad. And one night, I'm sitting watching TV with my wife, and we're watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, a Chilean version of the show. And I'm quite literate, so sometimes I know a lot of stuff, but not to answer every question. So the ones that I didn't know about, I started playing around and fooling around with my wife, that I will channel the answer, So I will make the whole technique that Pepper told me, and I will channel the answer. And that night, while we were watching, I got every answer correct. So my wife started laughing, and she says, "And what if you go and play in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Maybe that's what we need." And I said, "Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm totally not doing that ever, never." So she insisted and insisted and insisted. And she could be quite stubborn when something gets into her head. So I knew she wasn't stopping nagging. She was not going to stop nagging about it until I did something. So I opened up the channel website, the broadcaster website, and sign up for it. But one of the things that it made me do was to tell what was my profession, what I was actually doing in life. So I couldn't write down that crazy stuff. I had to write down something that sounded more normal. So what I did was write, I'm a journalist and a meditation teacher, which was something that I had been teaching while we had the healing center. So I sent it out, and as I had worked as a journalist before in another TV station, I knew this is kind of always in South America, it's like the friend of the friend, the one they call. So I felt pretty safe that they were not going to call me. The thing is that they did call me. So they asked me to get a test in front of the camera. And then I think they like me because they call me again. And suddenly they invite me to go and play in the show. So she starts saying, this is it. We're gonna earn a lot of money here, and this is going how we're going to get out of this darkness, and we're gonna do it. And I said, you know what? I don't want to think about that. I don't want to imagine that, because if I imagine that it doesn't happen, it's gonna be pretty frustrating. So I don't want to go in there. So I talked with a friend, and this is the only one that knew that I was going to the show. That was Barbara, which was one of the partners we had in the Healing Center, and she's a journalist too. So she tells me, "But why are you gonna think you're gonna win the money or win all the money? Just intention that you want to give your website. It's prime time. You can give your website there. People will go there and then buy your meditation classes. So do that." And she said, "Well," and I said, "Well, that's a very good idea." So all my attention was focused on getting to give my website there and promote my website on the show. And then I started watching it, and it was a different format that was called high tension, where 6 players will play at the same time and only one will get the whole lot of money. But if you lose, if you answer wrongly, the big price will go down a little bit, and then you had to go. Or you could pass and go to the end of the line. So it was that kind of show. I don't know if you get it, but that's how it worked. So I started watching the show more every night to see which of the participants usually talked more with the host. So I found out, or at least I thought I found out, that the ones that really talked more with the host was the person on the first chair and the person on the 6th chair, number 1 and number 6. So I did my intentions as usual for me to get the 1st or the 6th chair. And when the day of the show came, they closed us down in a room and they give us all the rules. They make us sign papers to not tell anything about it before it is broadcasted or else. And I don't know if I sold my soul to to the TV station or not, because they made us sign up a whole bunch of papers that we didn't get time to read, but that was the way. So then there was a lottery to see which seed you were going to use, and it was this ballfish with little balls inside with numbers. So that was done alphabetically. And me as Pablo was the 5th one that was going to take out a ball with a number. So when I get the fish ball, there was only 2 balls inside, number 1 and number 6. So when that happens, I started looking around where is the camera here? Is this a prank or what? So I got out number 1. So that meant I was starting the show. So the first 3 questions were pretty easy. Those that are made for you to see if you're full enough to fall on them or not. And then the 4th one, they asked me about the name of the first women's menstruation. I don't know exactly the name in English now, but I know in Spanish it's called menarquia, and I'm not gonna forget it anymore. But that meant that I had to pass and go to the end of the line. So the show went on, and then I was sitting on the 3rd chair. Someone was playing, then another guy, and I'm sitting here. And the one that's playing, it's really, really going strong. He's answering everything right, everything correctly. And I started thinking this is it. This guy is gonna win everything. He's awesome. He is great answering questions. But then he kind of hesitates in one and decides to pass instead of risk it. So he goes to the end of the line. This guy comes to try to answer and he fails. So that means I got back in the playing chair with 4 questions left and $30,000 as the top prize. When that happened, I started feeling that this could be real, and this is the moment that my guides had been telling me about. So the first question they asked me is about the name of the Venezuelan presidential palace, which is Miraflores. You don't know that my wife grew up in Venezuela. So that was pretty easy and at the same time a risk, because if I didn't know it, she will just kill me there because I didn't know that, you know. She would have dumped me right there. So there was only 3 questions left. And this is when things became really interesting, because they asked me about the founding member of the police that takes care of the inmates in prisons in Chile. You know, and this is something you never see in any history class ever, you know, because nobody cares about those kind of policemen. So, which is not something that I agree with, but that's the way it is. So I didn't know the answer. And I said to myself, well, this is it. This is where you need to help me. So I'm going to go and try to channel with intuition the answer, or I'm going to look foolish in front of the whole nation. And it doesn't matter to me. So when the answers start showing up on the screen you have in front of this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I just close my eyes and make my connection, and I sense that it is A, the right answer. So I said the answer is A. And the host, she will tell me, but Pablo, you have a whole minute to think about it. Why don't you just take your time and think about it? And I will say, no, my intuition tells me it's A. I don't know the answer. My intuition tells me it is A, and I'm going to go with A. And it was A. So I started laughing, you know, like, what? Because I started feeling this was a whole prank of the universe for the last few months, laughing at me right now, to see how much I really trusted myself in this. So then when the next when the next question comes, they ask me about the height of the highest mountain in Spain or something like that. And the options were 4,308, 4,309, 4,803, something like that. Even someone who knew the answer was going to just mess it up, you know? So again, I close my eyes and get in touch with my inner wisdom, ask my guides and masters to show me the answer, and they tell me it's C. So I say, it's C. And the host will say, Pablo, you have 1.5 minutes now to think about it. Why don't you think about it? It is a lot of money you're playing for. And I said, it doesn't matter. I know it is C. My intuition tells me it is C. So I'm going to go with C. And it was C. So I became laughing again, you know, like really out loud. Meanwhile, they will ask me things about meditation. And the funny thing is that then they sent us to commercial break. And in the commercial break, I realized I have not given my website so far. So I asked the host while we're on the commercial break, Diana, can I give my website? And she said, I cannot help you there. That will be like free publicity, and I cannot do that. Free advertising. You need to figure that out yourself if you want to. So I said, okay, well, that's it. So the final question comes for $30,000, which was exactly what I needed to pay all the debts. And the question was, where is the tobacco original from? So I tried to make my connection, and I stopped myself because I started feeling my mind was getting in between, saying, I know the answer. So I don't remember if I said it out loud or if it was something that I just did internally. But what I thought was, I remember that in Formula One there was a team in the time I was working as a journalist that was called the British American Racing Team. That was owned by the British American Tobacco Company. So I figured out the tobacco must be American, you know. So I answered that the tobacco is American, and the host Diana will tell me, and are you going to change the way you approach things on your final question? when you're playing for $30,000? Why are you changing your approach now? And I said, well, the thing is that I know this one, and this is something that I teach. It's you need to know when your mind's speaking because it knows something from experience, and when it's your intuition, the one that's talking. And this time I need to follow with my mind and my experience because I know this one. So she kind of looked at me and says, and where can I learn something like that? So I gave out my website. I said it's sabiduriainterior.com. It still is the same website. And I won $30,000 on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And all I could do was just laugh out loud because it was like, and I was feeling my master's telling me, you know, we told you. We told you we were going to help when you needed it. And I was just laughing out loud. The host would tell me, jump, celebrate, you won $30,000. And I was just like, what? Laughing out loud. It was really crazy. And the thing is that everything it started unraveling after that because I got like 2,000 emails a night. I got a lot of people asking me on the street what I did, that they really liked to meditate, and this was this whole movement of things really strange. And what I did was, with the prize, I actually took a little bit of money to study a way to work and teach with groups, on how people, grown-ups, would learn, which is different of how a child learns. So I took this certification in that, not really knowing what was going to happen later. What happened was that Pepper started looking for an assistant, and I applied, and she selected me as her assistant, even though I was in Chile and she was in Oregon. And then I started making strides toward being like an assistant professor to her classes. So in 2012, in July, she was giving a class in Lima, in Peru. And something happened that her plane got late, so she wasn't going to arrive on time to start the class. So she tells me, you need to start with the class by yourself. So the universe just pushed me in there to that, in a class with 35 people there. So I had to start it. And then at the end, in this channeling that we usually do at the end, she says, well, you started, then you need to close it out because the circle needs to be perfect. So on that channeling with other people, my master tells me that I was going to, that I should get ready because things were going to change. So I, and that was the last time that I will channel them. So it felt some sort of strange, but at the same time I said, okay, it's okay, this happens. And then a few months later, I just couldn't channel them anymore. Something happened. So I talked to Pepper and said, something's going on. I'm not being able to channel them. And she says, well, maybe there's a bigger energy. Try going deeper. So I did, and all I could do was cry. I felt so much joy when I was getting in touch with this new energy that I was just bursting in tears, crying and sobbing. And that happened for around a month until it finally started to talk and move forward. And then when that happened, I was in a party with some friends. One friend starts telling me about how she's getting a divorce, and I start telling her how this is happening to me with this channeling thing. And she tells me, well, maybe I can ask that master some questions. Maybe he can help me. And I said, well, we can try, why not? And the thing is that I did a session for her and she liked it. So she told a friend, and then that friend liked it too, and she told a friend, and this starts snowballing pretty quickly. And when December comes in 2012, Pepper does a series of challenge for December the 21st. And then at the end of December, she tells me she's not going to channel anymore, that she needs to get in touch with her parents, who were pretty sick, both of them at the same time, pretty ill, and she needed some time away from it. So I asked her, well, what happens then with the class? We are starting to promote for Colombia. We were in conversations for her to have a class in May of 2013 in Colombia. So she tells me, well, you could do that. And I said, all by myself. And she said, yeah, well, I think you're prepared to do it. So ask Carolina, which was the host there, if she likes the idea of you giving the class by yourself, and let's go from there. So I asked her, and she liked the idea. So Pepper prepared me and got me ready, and just ended the mentor of being her follower, or her next teacher after her. And I gave my first class in Bogota, in Colombia, in 2013. And since then, I have not stopped giving channeling classes. I have given classes in Colombia, in Bogota, Cali, Medellin, Bucaramanga, Barranquilla. I have given classes in Bolivia, in La Paz, and in Santa Cruz, in Lima, in Peru, in Santiago, in Chile, in La Serena, in Chile, in Concepción, in Chile, in Montevideo, in Uruguay, in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, and Miami too this year. And now I'm going to New York to also give my first channeling class in English, which is pretty exciting for me. So this is how I got here, and this is how I got to be a channeling teacher. The thing is that all this idea of having to teach channeling was something that I never thought would happen. I thought channeling was for writing books, and I'm pretty sure that what guided me to take the certification in working with people, in learning with groups, was something that my intuition just sent me, and my master sent me, so I could follow this path, because it has been really useful in the whole channeling class and the whole channeling process that I teach now, what I learned there. So I just wanted to invite you to join me on the first channeling class in English that will be in New York in October. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write me down, or write Ernie Torres, who is organizing everything there, and let us know if we can help you with anything. And I hope I see you there in October. So that's it. Take care. Bye.